All right, let's get right into it. Braden, thank you for joining me on this podcast episode. We're excited to have you here and learn a little bit about what you do and why you do it. As we begin, it would be helpful if you told us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got into engineering or how you even started this YouTube channel. How did you get into that? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for having me, man. I got started in engineering as actually, it wasn't really direct. I did another degree before I studied engineering. I did a degree, a bachelor's degree in environmental science. So when I was studying environmental science, I was interested in sustainability, and the jobs that I was actually looking at getting were all focused on renewable energy. Around where I live, the jobs that really interested me were all like civil engineering and mechanical engineering, electrical engineering jobs. And so I was near the end of my environmental science degree when I decided that I wanted to pursue engineering. And so that's actually that's how I ended up in engineering. And as I was in my last year of science, that's when I started taking some math courses in preparation to go to engineering, because the science program wasn't that heavy. So I took linear algebra and calculus 1 in my last year of school of the science degree, and in preparation so I wouldn't have to take it in the first year of the science program, the engineering program. And it was when I was in those courses, like it was linear algebra was the one that I took first, and my professor was not that good. So I ended up learning most of that course on YouTube. Specifically, I was using Khan Academy a lot for that. And so that would have been around 2012, I think. When Khan Academy, they were pretty established, but the whole YouTube thing was just getting going for teaching. So I started looking at the rest of the engineering courses that I was going to be taking, if there was going to be like YouTube tutorials, whether with those guys or with other people, covering all of the engineering courses that I was going to take, because I figured if linear algebra was so hard that I was going to need a lot of help going forward. But I came up back in 2012. I came up pretty empty with that. Like there was some basic math stuff, calculus, linear algebra. But so I was a little bit nervous about the rest of the degree, thinking if this is going to be how it is, if I'm learning everything on YouTube. But I also, it just took a few minutes to think about it, that's an opportunity that no one has covered those things yet. And I was watching what these Khan Academy guys were doing. And I thought, like, they have a huge volume of people watching their stuff. And the guy that was doing those lessons, he's an engineer, but he wasn't a professor. He wasn't a teacher. He was just a guy that had a knack for explaining stuff. So I thought, well, if that guy can do it, like, and no one else is doing it yet, maybe I could do it for engineering. And so I basically just went with that. While I was a student, like while I was in classes, I would just learn them and then just turn right around and flip it onto YouTube, everything that I was learning. And that's basically how I got started with it. Yeah. So a lot of
When did you actually start the channel?
It was, yeah. It was right at the beginning of 2012. And I was actually still enrolled in my environmental science degree when I started it as the name Engineer4Free. Yeah, I basically saw that there was potential and that it was something that I wanted to try. So I started it before I was an engineering student, with the plans of growing it as I went through the school. Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, your main focus here is to obviously help engineers, I think, that are in school, but you have so many courses there now. It's almost like you could get a college degree checking out your channel. You've pretty much got all the coursework there. It's pretty crazy how much you have there.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And that's basically the plan. Of course, I can't offer degrees or certifications or anything like that, but I was thinking that was maybe the goal at the beginning, but I think there's just a huge need for people who are enrolled in university programs, taking the courses in university and need extra help. And it's really nice to be able to satisfy the needs of those people.
For sure. I think that's really admirable. You know, I got my degree in civil engineering. Is that what you ended up getting your degree in?
Mine was civil as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we probably took very similar classes for sure. Yeah, I mean, I specifically remember times when I was in college where I really struggled with a professor that I had to deal with. So, yeah, I mean, I took an environmental class, and it was just really a
Hmm.
struggle for me to learn. Understand what the instructor was saying. I ended up having to learn everything on my own, reading textbooks and whatnot. So it just kind of made it a real struggle to learn subjects.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I, coming from being a student, I did two bachelor's degrees, so I was an undergraduate student for a lot longer than most people, and I've sat through a lot of lectures in a lot of different subjects, and I got really good at understanding what it is like to be an undergraduate student and like the level that undergrads are like to think at and absorb information at. And so I don't have a PhD in some particular field. Yeah, but I think it's good. I just come with it from a different background. I know what it's like to be a student, and I can like can bring that. I can convey that aha moment as like a student. That's what we're looking for when you first learn the topic, and sometimes that gets left out.
I love it when things
Yeah.
come together like that too, because when that aha moment does come, it just makes everything so much
Mm-hmm.
more enlightening. Like you finally understand the topic.
Yeah,
I
totally.
guess looking at some of the other questions I have, is
Yeah.
there a favorite subject that you have now that you've been putting together all of these videos, or just as you were going through
Mm.
schoolwork yourself? I'm curious.
I think there's two that come to mind. I like statics, which is great, having gone through civil. Um, and the other course that I liked doing a lot is I have a series on project management, drawing network diagrams and Gantt charts and things like that. Uh, when yeah, I enjoyed both of those courses when I was in them, and now as like people are commenting on my videos all the time on all the different courses, and when I have to respond to feedback on statics or project management, it comes naturally. It's really easy. But when I'm answering questions on some of the other topics, I made a series on chemistry, but it's not my favorite. Yeah, I gotta think, how did that work again? Yeah, but no, I definitely love statics. If I had to pick one.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, it's awesome how much material you have on there. How many videos do you have up there? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how much content do you have out there right now, and what's maybe your goals
Yeah,
for growing what you have going on right now?
I think so. Right now, I have almost 500 tutorials up on YouTube, and that covers the most part of around 10 different courses from different like first year, second year, third year. I think I'd like to get maybe another 1,000 tutorials up before I really start running out of things to talk about. Uh, so just continue on by just branching out into new topics like there's thermodynamics, fluids, all of those things I haven't covered yet. And I'd really like just to be like a household name among engineering students when people are talking in class. Hey, where can I get extra help? People are saying, check out Engineer4Free. That's the goal, really focused on engineering students. Um, but I've realized that there are a lot of people that are using my videos as well that aren't just students. The project management people are a really good example of that. There's a lot of people from industry that are studying for their industry certifications for project management that find they do a lot of this stuff with network diagrams. And I think most of the people that are watching those videos are actually not engineering students. And I see that in the comments when people are sharing perspectives.
Wow, that's really cool. Have you looked at maybe producing more videos related to project management since you see more interest there sometimes?
For now, I haven't gone back to like add more content to popular courses. But I think that's something that I'll consider after I run out of things to talk about. Basically, after I've made 1,000 more tutorials, and then I'm looking for things to stay busy with. That's when I'll start expanding it and switching it up a little bit. I've actually done that a little bit in the last year. I started out only doing YouTube tutorials, and lately I've been doing like practice problems with solutions. Starting to build out a bit of a database for that. For now, that's part of my Patreon. reward system. But yeah, that's one new thing that I've introduced in the last year as well.
Wow, that's pretty sweet. Okay, so let's talk about, I guess, when you're making videos, what's the most challenging part of making those videos for you?
Yeah, you touched on it before. It's that you can't remember everything all the time, and I'm teaching a lot of different things. For example, right now I'm working on a dynamics course,
Mm-hmm.
and I studied dynamics probably 7 years ago, I think. So it's not fresh. So I have to put in a lot of effort on my end to go back and just brush up on exactly what needs to be in like a good explanation, and that can be a lot of effort compared to
Yes.
when I started out as a student, when I was doing it when it was all super fresh. Yeah, I'd say that's one of the more challenging parts at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. That's
But
good.
I guess like, yeah, one of the I think the advantages that I had when I was a student when I was doing it is, as I was learning things for the first time, I'd kind of get like that aha moment where something finally clicked, and I would put that into the lessons. And now that I'm going back several years later, I get that moment again. So I see something that's familiar, and I think, oh, how did that work? And then, oh, that's exactly how that thing works, right? And then, but I keep track of those, and I put those in the lessons, and so when hopefully someone's watching it, they're like, ah, okay,
That's
and they get
cool.
that same moment.
Yeah. I love it when it comes together or a concept makes sense for you. That's definitely a sign you've been doing your homework and learning. So I love that from my end. I guess that kind of rolls into another question. Like, what's your favorite part about creating these videos for engineers? And like, do you have any success stories from anybody that you've heard about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, my favorite part is the feedback that I get. Um, I get I get comments on YouTube all the time, several every day, and the feedback that I get, like I can read you a couple if just
Yeah,
one
if you
recently.
would like to, sure.
Yeah, sure. I'll just grab a couple. Like people, this is an example of one. Someone says, "My teacher doesn't even explain anything. He just throws all slides that he stole from somebody else at us and tells us to finish the exercises. Then she switches to all capital letters and says, 'So thank God I found this tutorial. Thank you!' Bunch of exclamation marks." you know, and that's a situation that I've been in and I can relate to. And so that makes it really all worth it, to hear things like that I'm actually really making someone really
Yeah,
happy.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then, so there's times like I'll just read you one more, I guess. Someone here said, "Before watching your videos, I thought I could never pass my statics course in my whole life, but you made me feel confident about this course. Thank you so much." Stuff like that. Like, it's just really heartwarming to get that. That's a huge thing that keeps me going with this.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hearing those things not only makes you just feel awesome, but it does drive you to want to keep making them for the next
Yeah,
person that's struggling in whatever class they're in.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
that's awesome. So I imagine that's probably your most favorite part about the channel and what you're doing there. What about like fast forward and just with what's going on right now in your own world? Um, what are some things maybe you're interested in today?
Hmm.
What are some topics
Um,
you're just like, I really enjoy that, you know, regarding to engineering or otherwise?
yeah, yeah, of course. Um, I I still like I'm still really interested in renewable energy. It's when I follow news articles, that's typically like what I'm always searching for. I like to follow the trends with that and just see where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's a fascinating world that I'd like to be part of. Yeah, so that's
Yeah, that's a great topic. Have you seen, I guess, in is there any country that you see doing this that you're following, or is there, I don't know, is there someone that seems to be a leader in doing? that kind of stuff?
Um,
Or anyone
I
in
follow.
particular you're following?
Mm, I do follow uh, I like to follow what's going on with geothermal energy,
Uh-huh.
specifically geothermal power. That's a super cool technology and industry that is generally like it's not very utilized in the world, and it has a lot of potential. Um, and that's yeah, I track news for that, and especially I'm from Canada, and we have a situation there where there's no geothermal power yet in the country,
Hmm,
despite sharing like the same geology as the United States, which is
really?
the world leader in geothermal power production. So we have the same geology, but we have zero production. That's a fascinating topic in itself. And those, yeah, you can read about that for ages.
I actually
Always learning something.
I actually do practice as an engineer, and I work for a
Mm-hmm.
local utility. And so
Mm-hmm.
some of the fleet that they have, it does include geothermal power plants.
Oh, cool.
Uh, and they also have just what am I trying to say? They have regular coal fire that they've tried to really really clean up, so they call it clean
Mm-hmm.
coal now. And as more and more times those are being usually shut down for whatever reason as they move into solar and wind,
Mm-hmm.
which has been definitely a growing industry. And then natural gas is also another one that
Yeah.
um, is there too. So, but yeah, I think the geothermal stuff is very fascinating, and you almost wonder why more countries or people aren't taking advantage of that. That's just natural
Mm-hmm.
heat
I
there.
think,
So
yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity in the future, as people are looking for like low emission power sources.
that's
It's got a
great.
big feature that's exciting to watch.
Well, this next little bit, I just want to throw out some quick questions to you. You can give me very quick answers. They don't need to be in length, but they can be lengthy if you want them to. But it's just some quick answers, quick questions. What are some obstacles you faced when you became an engineer,
Ooh, I think
or just in general?
yeah. So I came in as a mature student already with a degree. I started
Mm-hmm.
studying engineering, and I thought it would be a breeze. I've done this before, no problem. Um, but the weed out culture in engineering schools was very strong where I studied, and it was not a breeze. That was a huge struggle. Just like everyone else, when I went through first year again, it was not something easy. I'd say that's the biggest struggle that I had was trying to deal with that.
Would you discourage somebody that would say they were going to go into engineering, or what kind of attitude do you think they should have? I mean, a lot of times it's like getting through just the institutions, uh, the way each professor holds and handles their own classes a little bit, and less about like the material. It's more like how are they grading you and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Would you
Completely.
encourage somebody? I don't know. What would you say to them?
I don't think I would discourage someone from studying engineering, but I would like people who are considering engineering to know that it's like the experience of being an engineering student often isn't all about the academic content. It's just about surviving and
Jumping
and
through
and
the
just
hoops.
there's hoops and just dealing with like a ridiculous amount of volume and stress and everything. And I think when I look back on it too, like one of the one of the best skills that I took from that degree wasn't even necessarily like understanding the academic content. It was being able to deal with insane amounts of stress, which is not what I was expecting when I started.
Yeah. No, good tips there. Good
Yeah.
tips. Um, what's a personal habit that maybe contributes to your own success?
I'd say maybe something just trying to be consistent, whether it's for studying or performing at work, or even my work with Engineer4Free. Yeah, when you look at Engineer4Free now and you see that there's hundreds of lessons and it's this thing, it's great, but it took a lot of consistent work, always publishing new stuff,
Okay.
staying involved with it. And same when you're in school, just you typically can't learn everything right away. It's just constant effort, constant always showing up and
That's
trying to
great
chip away at
advice.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, being consistent in all you're doing. Even after you've got your degree, you have to consistently be learning and sharpening the tools you've got. And as an engineer, you're kind of in the business of you and your own personal brand. So what do you bring to the table? And so polishing the skills you have, I think, is a good thing that takes effort. How about a sweet resource that you might recommend to the CEA community? Obviously, I think Engineer4Free is a good one. Is there any others out there that you particularly like? They don't have to be YouTube things. It could be software or otherwise.
I was gonna say YouTube in general. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
overlooked as how ridiculously useful it is. For students, all of the academic help that you could ever need is there. And not even just for students. If you look at anything, I did my internship. Basically, it was largely focused on energy efficiency, which was not something that I had learned in my civil engineering degree.
Hmm.
And YouTube and Google in general were in my back pocket the whole time, and helped me catch up, get up to speed on that, and succeed in that job. I think it's under, people need to use it a
Utilized.
lot. Underutilized. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much on there. I mean, it's I talk to my own parents and they're like, YouTube's a magic mirror. You just ask it stuff and it will show you how to do stuff.
Completely. It's amazing.
You look up how to do things and somebody's made a video about it for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Have you been reading any books? Is there any books that you would recommend to the community?
I haven't been reading a lot lately. After going through so much school and reading textbooks, I dropped off reading for fun a lot.
That would do that.
Yeah, it's I've just read so many textbooks, man.
Okay. So good textbooks. We'll recommend that.
Yeah.
And I think on your own website, you recommend textbooks or books that are applicable to courses. So
yeah, of course. And that's another thing too for engineering students. There's often like the recommended book for a topic. It costs a lot, usually from your university bookstore. But then there's some other guy that's wrote a book on the same topic that's way cheaper, maybe on Amazon or Abe Books or used university bookstore. Half the time I was just using a different, like say for statics or something like that. I would just get a different static book and work out of that. And it's all the same stuff at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd throw on a plug for that. The current version or anything like that of a particular course textbook isn't that important. It's just the topic itself.
Yeah. Good advice. Great. If you had this is kind of just a fun question, but if you had all the resources and the knowledge in the world, what's something you'd like to be a part of? And I think you've already answered that, with sustainability. And I think, is that kind of the direction you'd go with that?
Absolutely. And I think in particular too, like I said, I'm quite interested with geothermal power and all of its potential. And coming from a country where it's really held back, that's with all the resources and knowledge in the world, that's a problem that I'd like to be involved with.
Get that going.
Cool. Absolutely.
Just kind of to conclude with our little interview, is there any last piece of guidance or advice you want to share? And maybe what's also the best way to connect with you if people have questions?
Yeah, sure. If anyone would like to connect, you can connect with me on any social media. I'm Engineer4Free everywhere. You can send a message, or you can even just comment on a YouTube video. I see all of the comments and I try to reply to all of them. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. And otherwise, I think just for anyone that's a student that might be struggling with school, struggling with a weed out culture, anything like that, just know that I'm not the only one that's doing something like this. There's tons of people on YouTube, there's tons of people on other websites that are just out there trying to be helpful and nice, and that you should try to find us, because we're there to help you. There's a lot of people in that category.
I agree. Take advantage of it. We at Civil Engineering Academy, we're on there as well. We take advantage of that. Engineer4Free is a great one, and there's plenty others if you just want to do some homework on that. So, Braden, thank you for joining me today. I think this will be fun for everyone to hear about, and I just appreciate you taking the time in your life to sit down and have a chat with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you later.